Well, it's back on Monday, the 17th of April. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. This is your Frontier opening bell. Let's get the full week started with the very quick review of where the markets finished off over the weekend. On Friday, the Nigerian stock market down by 0.1%. The BRVM better by 37 basis points, and the Egyptian stock market on Thursday surged 5.55%, while on Friday, the Nairobi stock market fell by 30 basis points, and the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, the biggest exchange on the continent, was better by about 0.5%, holding the 78,000 level. Let's take that one very quickly. Checking through with me what's making headlines across the East African markets, economies, investment, business, and finance space. The Kenya's producer price index, what you call the PPI, was up 15% in 2022 against 7.4% in 2021. And that tells you something, that inflation in Kenya is rising because factory inflation, what you call the PPI, is getting up. So as manufacturers see inflation, then they pass that on, all of that down to consumers. So you can see the whole trend on inflation when it comes from the producers' prices. And Salem, Kenya, headquartered in South Africa, by the way, but of course the Kenyan unit says it cost December 2022 lost about 54 million shillings because of a lower cost that was experienced during the period under review. The International Monetary Fund says Kenya's economy will overtake Angola, the second largest oil-producing state in sub-Saharan Africa, as Ethiopia widens the lead between the two countries. Ethiopia, about 120 million people, seeing reforms in the banking sector, in the telecommunications sector under Prime Minister Abiy, and that is continuing at pace. And now Kenya's got a major competitor in the northern part, the Horn of Africa, again coming from Ethiopia, with Safaricom, the banking sector, or KCB and others moving into the Ethiopian marketplace. Quite a very lot happening there in Ethiopia. So you've got to see a lot of competition between Ethiopia and Kenya. Then, of course, you have Rwanda Air inking what you call a code sharing agreement with Turkish Airlines, one of the biggest airlines in the world. What's making the headlines in West Africa, by the way, with the Nigeria's central bank asking banks to look into what you call dormant bank accounts, as well as unclaimed funds that could be withheld and put into special funds. It is all conversation that has been discussed before. Now it's been raised once again, where the dormant bank accounts could be seized by banks under some sort of arrangement that will allow banks to use such funds that have not been claimed over a period of time. Nigeria is dealing with quite a bunch of unused bank account balances, as well as unclaimed dividends in the securities market. Quite of those issues to deal with by the central bank on one hand and the SEC on the other hand. And they just take us to the SEC. And MBET, Nigeria Bulk Electricity Trading Company, and other partners are discussing, according to the minutes from the CMC meeting held late last week, to set up what you call a new energy trading exchange. That should be completely different from the three exchanges or four exchanges that Nigeria currently have in commodities and securities exchange and over-the-counter markets, currencies, and one of that. The whole idea is to help Nigeria expand the frontiers and make the whole energy transition program of the country become more solid and provide a market for that. It's still early days, by the way, for that idea, but it's being discussed and led by the SEC with the NBET, which is a government agency which distributes and sells electricity to the discos and collects energy from the power generating companies. And that is a very critical agency in Nigeria's electricity value chain. And China is raising the hope that Ghana could secure the $3 billion much needed bailout within the second quarter, which is April to June. Let's see how that goes. This fund is seriously needed by President Akufo-Addo's administration in Ghana. And Senegal says it's raised 55 billion CFA franc in the West Africa Monetary Union financial markets last week. That's just wrapping up last week on West Africa front. Checking with South Africa, Eskom crisis not over yet. This morning we're getting news that the load shedding level 6 over the weekend is now around level 7, so that problem is not over yet, and it's impacting businesses and could hurt South Africa's economy much further. In the meantime, the AFCFTA Secretariat in Ghana and the rest of the team, including the Afrexim Bank and a whole lot of others, are started yesterday, Sunday, for the AFCFTA Business Forum being held in Cape Town. That's very big gathering is bringing everyone around the table to see how much support could be given to the AFCFTA's intra-Africa trade program, in particular for medium and small enterprises. It's provided a platform for consultations and engagement of ideas, exchange of ideas, as it were, to help move the AFCFTA forward. The conference continues today, tomorrow, and will be wrapping up on Wednesday, the 19th. And Access Bank says it has a new acting managing director for its business unit in Botswana. And the appointment of Musonda Musakanya is now being approved. Heineken is getting its bearings right in Southern Africa. It's putting an additional 15 billion rand, as it were, into beer and beverages business in South Africa. And EcoCash Holdings of Zimbabwe, which is listed on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, is raising about $30.3 million to settle external debts and remain in business. And finally, in North Africa, the IMF says the IMF is working to resolve Tunisia's financing problems, and Spain says it will work with the International Monetary Fund to support Tunisia and get the country's economy back on its foot. And Ankara is looking to increase trade exchange with Egypt, that's from Turkey, to about $16 billion, while the World Bank is back in Tunisia and signaling worry on the Egyptian pound. Quite a bit happening between the pound, which is facing further devaluation against the US dollar as a carry trade currency on the continent, and Tunisia, on the other hand, with the whole political issues and protests in Tunisia under President Said. The Gulf Insurance Company of Egypt, subsidiary, says it's bought about 95% of shares of the American International Group in Egypt. That's a further consolidation of the insurance business in North Africa's biggest economy. And Morocco is looking to exempt agricultural inputs from value-added tax. That will be a subsidy for those who are farmers and doing mechanized farming and agriculture in Morocco, increase food supply and food sustainability for one of North Africa's biggest economy and one of the most populous country on the continent as well. And those are your headlines to get this Monday and the new business week started. This is your Frontier Opening Bell. It's good to be with you back again in the business week. I'll see you for the rest of the week. Bye for now.